Hi, I'm Kevin Camm, the Extension Agent for both 4-H and Agriculture and Natural Resources for Virginia Cooperative Extension here in the city of Lynchburg.
And I'm David Stokes. I'm a Master Gardener with the Hill City Master Gardeners.
And we're going to talk to you a little bit about winter prep for your garden and your yard. Today we're going to talk specifically about putting your garden to bed for the winter. David, a lot of homeowners have small gardens and large gardens, and why is it important to put their garden to bed in the wintertime?
Well, first thing you want to do, you want to clean up all of your dead plants, especially if you've got tomatoes. Tomatoes, they could harbor a blight or anything like that, so when you get your tomatoes up, you do not want to put them in a compost pile. You want to either bag them up and take them to the dump, or you can, if you got a clear spot, you can burn them. Your other crops like your peas and your beans and all, you can do a couple of things. You can pull them up and you can put them in a compost pile. You can run your tiller over them if you want to, but a lot of times, especially if you've got a bush type bean, a good example would be black-eyed peas. They will clog up in your tines. So the best thing to do if you don't want to pull them up, come in with a weed eater, knock them down, or you can come in with a lawnmower. Raise your blade up if your ground is fairly level, and you can mulch them up that way, and you've cleaned it up, it looks good, and then you can start preparing it to winterize it and have it ready for next year. This one spot of this garden has been cleaned up. I finished it the other day. I've got a little bit of broccoli left that will still be coming in, and I've got my row of blackberries there. But for the main part, this has been done. I pulled up all of my plants. The tomatoes I burnt. The other stuff I put in my compost pile. I mulch all of my gardens year round. After you finish tilling during the spring and summer, if you mulch with leaves or wood chips, you do not have to till anymore. It conserves water and moisture, and it prevents the weeds. And as a bonus, you can come out after a rain and you can pick. Your fruit and vegetables are going to be clean, and you're not going to get dirty. I'm waiting on some leaves to be delivered, and what I will do is I will spread probably 6 inches of leaves over top of all of your garden, and then I will let it lay all winter. And that's going to decompose, and it'll choke out any of the growth that likes to grow during the winter time. And then in March, when the ground is suitable, I will till that under. You've added organic matter to your topsoil already, and you're good to go for another season.
And I think that's a key point that you made, and putting a garden to bed. So sort of the leaves and what you're putting on top is like a blanket, and it's just going to cover it. It's going to keep everything contained. It's going to prevent some weeds to grow and to germinate again, and also removing a lot of these plants. You're not only removing a blight, for example, for a tomato, you're removing other diseases that may come in. When you have a lot of overgrown plants and weeds growing up, you're harboring other things, more weeds, insects, more animals to come in. A lot of the plants, you don't want them to go to seed because your garden next year might have a lot of one specific thing coming up. And wildlife, we know that in Lynchburg there's a lot of wildlife, unwanted wildlife. Now again, if there's a small section of your garden that has gone to seed and you want to contain that, that's fine if you want to have it for the wildlife, birds and whatnot. But just be very careful about that.
Well, one of the problems with that is, think about your neighbors, because I've got neighbors that feed the deer. Then the deer, they don't have any plants or anything in their yards. The deer have started, they found mine because with all of my vegetable garden and flower gardens, I've got something in bloom or color year round. And I don't feed them, but they like to look at them. But they come to their yard and eat, and then they come up to mine, and then they've got a buffet. So you got to be considerate of your neighbors. You know, it's just like people going down in the neighborhood and dropping off a stray animal rather than taking it to the Humane Society. They're taking somebody's problem and creating a problem for somebody else. And, you know, that could harbor bad relations.
Another thing I want to talk about, what David had mentioned earlier, would be, he mentioned some things he would till in, some things he would remove and burn, and some things he would compost. That's great situations all around for your garden, putting it to bed. Tomatoes, for example, you're going to get a lot of tomato seeds in your garden if you leave it in. If you compost it and there's some remnants of the tomatoes already still on there, your compost pile may grow some tomatoes the following year.
And it's one of you mentioned tomatoes. You can get up your tomatoes, and I've never figured this out yet. You can start your seeds in the greenhouse, and some of them, sometimes they germinate, sometimes they don't. But you would be surprised, even last winter, we got in 3 below zero, and I had volunteer tomatoes come up everywhere. Now, if they overwinter, seeds laying on the ground have been covered up with leaves, or possibly in some areas a new spot may have been tilled in. You've got tomatoes that come up and they do just as good, if not better, than what you start from seed. And that's a mystery I've not figured out yet.
But again, you burn some things. Now,
Yes.
burning things, it's not a bad thing because it does produce a lot of ash.
Yes.
And ash is also good for your garden. It does put potassium in there. I would caution, make sure that you've done a soil test, because if you put more potassium on there, it may harbor or inhibit the growth of some of your plants. And we'll talk about soil tests on another session.
You can't get too much of a good thing.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So, David, thank you. That's a little bit of the information that we wanted to share. There's a lot more that we can expand to, but we just wanted to give you the basics on putting your garden to bed. If you have any questions about anything that you're growing, or any other plant or insect or something that's going on in your life, give us a call at the Extension office at 434-455-3740.
And if you're interested in it, you can sign up next year to take the Master Gardener class, in which that way you'll have a wealth of knowledge that you will gain from it, and you will learn because you are front line with anything coming out of Virginia Tech. So you know exactly what to do, and when somebody has a problem, they can come see you.
Yes.
So it's a win-win situation for not only yourself, but also your neighbors and also the community.
So give us a call.